Chris Parkin Shooting Sports. This is the Frankie Horizon Varmint Elite Subalpine in 223. Now, I've not had a Frankie rifle before, but this one has, I'll be straight off, it's vastly impressed me because I didn't really know what to expect from them. Italian companies, part of overall the Beretta group, but this is a bit of a standalone unit, and I was really interested to see what they did, little features about it, and how it stands up against some of the bigger, better known competitors. Now this rifle's in 223, it's also available in 22-250, 22 Valkyrie and 308. Now that's mainly for the UK market, but they've also actually put some very interesting faster twist rates on them. So for example, this 223 is a 1 in 9 twist rate, so it'll stabilise 69 grain copper lead bullets, but also the heavier copper only bullets too, so it's kind of future proof in that respect. The stock you can see is a dipped finish, it's camo Optifade. I think it's quite a good contrast with the dark deep bronze barrel colour, which is Cerakoted, and it makes it a very unique looking rifle. But let's talk about the mechanics of this, because although I'll put a link in the description, you can read all the stuff on the Franchi website or Frankie website, and you can read all the marketing terms and advertising names they give everything. This is about my opinion of it, because I'm the reviewer that shot hundreds and hundreds of rifles. Right. The barrel, it's 22mm in diameter. This one's 610mm, or 24 inches long, so you get good velocities from it. It comes screw cut 14x1, and there is a pepper pot muzzle brake fitted to it that you can see here. I didn't use that, it's 223. I'm more interested in shooting, minimal noise, so I used the sound moderator. This one's a Wildcat sound moderator, but for those wanting a muzzle brake, that's an excellent option. That 14x1 thread's neatly cut. The crown underneath is also very neatly cut, and there's no problem screwing the moderator on and off, no bad threads or anything like that. You can see there are 5 300mm long flutes on here as well, which reduces a tiny little bit of the weight from the barrel, just helps to keep the balance a little bit more neutral in the centre. But of course, who knows what's going to get fitted to a rifle in terms of the optics involved, the bipod, moderators, things like that. So it's nice to start with a fairly neutral unit, because you know that a moderator is always going to make them a little bit nose heavy anyway. But I think that rifle looks really stunning in its own right there, and it's one of those rifles I kind of want to shoot just because it looks good without a moderator on, so I'll hide that away somewhere and shoot with just the brake for a bit of fun maybe. Now you can see from the chronograph results on screen when I'm shooting targets that the muzzle velocity is exceptionally good, and because you get close to box velocities, because box velocities are generally calculated from a 24-inch test barrel. Looking back at the action, this action it's got the deep bronze Cerakote like the rest of the barrel. I think it looks super good, and it's also got a nice big ejection port here. The rifle has also got a Picatinny rail supplied and attached, which is in a matching deep bronze Cerakote, and that makes scope mounting of any description super easy, whether you be on a small optic, a large optic, or a thermal night vision, anything like that. Now, tipping the rifle over and having a bit more of a detailed look at it, this polymer stock is a wide beaver tail forend. It's actually heavily reinforced within. I'll show you a picture on screen of that, and it is stiff and stable. It fully free floats the barrel, and of course when you put it in sticks, which I often shoot from a tripod with a clamp, it doesn't give you any point of impact shift. Interestingly, it comes without the sling stud fitted, but there's a little rubber plug. You take that out and there is a sling stud with it, so you just screw that in, and that's great for fitting a bipod. You can't quite see it with this bipod on, but there's a QD anchor point there for a sling attachment, and there is another one at the back end here, but we'll get to more of that in a minute. Now, underneath the rifle you can see we've got a detachable magazine. The actual release button is in the front of the trigger guard here, and that holds 4 rounds in a vertical column, but there's 2 magazines supplied, and that one holds 8 rounds. You can also put a +1 in the chamber with each of them. And one thing I will say is that these magazines are very nicely made. They're totally attuned to the rifle, and they've got a nice little feed ramp on the front there. So if you find yourself in a last minute scenario where you just want to put 1 round in, that's an empty one by the way, you can just drop that in there and it will feed straight to the chamber, which in a 223, especially if you're shooting at night in the dark, foxing, things like that in the UK, that is a very handy feature to know about your rifle. Next thing to talk about, let's look at the bolt. The bolt is plated on this, so it's a nice bright finish. It's fluted too. It runs really slick in the action. It has benefited just from a little bit of bedding in. The first 20 shots or so have made it super slick and smooth, and of course it's a 3-lug bolt, so you get a 60-degree lift. There's an extractor claw here to help tear that fired case from the chamber, and you've got a plunger ejector, which you can see on screen does a good job of ejecting the brass fire and wide. I'll just pop that back in. And on the left side here, that is the bolt release catch there. So if I just show you that, you can press that down to take the bolt out. Now, this bolt handle here is being kept relatively modest inside. It's only about 55mm long with an 18mm sort of teardrop on the end. A lot of people will think, oh, well, I want a really big bolt handle and I want a really long bolt handle. Well, do you know what? They're usually disappointing because they make rifles jam. This one is a joy to operate. This is a truly scaled action, so bolt stroke itself is only 90mm. You can see me on the video. You can just push that bolt close at the back end with your thumb on it, and then when you've fired, bang, you can just flick it open and pull it back like that. It's super light, you don't really need a handful of grip on it, and of course there's plenty of primary extraction to get that case out of the chamber when you just flick it up with your fingers like that. There is a cocked action indicator on the back, which is the back end of the firing pin, so you have got a tactile, representation if the gun is cocked or not. And on the side here, you've got a 2-position safety catch, forward for fire, rear for safe. That doesn't lock the bolt, but you can use it silently just under your thumb like that, and it's absolutely excellent to use. Now, this is a little bit tricky to see. You might be able to see it on the ceiling camera here, but just there's a little checkered part just on the top of the grip there. I really like that because when you're shooting with your thumb up there, it just finds this really comfortable place just to sit and be in position. The trigger is a single stage unit. It's actually adjustable from 800 to 1900 grams. This one was supplied breaking at 950 grams. It's single stage, it's pretty crisp in use, and I was very happy using it. This is an aluminium bottom metal here, steel trigger blade in there, and that, you'll see in the picture of it when it's removed from the rifle, you can see all the details of that. And that, this is another safe dry fire, is actually very nice in use. Looking more now at the ergonomics, number one, I think that stock looks fantastic. You've got the wide beaver tail forend, as we said before, and that's got lots of checkering inlaid into it. You've also got big finger grooves on the side, so you've got plenty of space to hold on to it. Although being a Varmint rifle, are you going to be holding on to it, or is it going to be rested on sandbags or a bipod, or from quad sticks, or from a tripod? It's a versatile rifle. It's good from any scenario. This Optifade, I still think, I'm going to say it again, I think it looks really cool. I really like it, but you know, it just looks a bit different, which is a great feature for a rifle in a market where there's a lot of samey stuff going on. I also like the fact that they've contrasted things like the grip, the butt pad and the cheek piece here. That's in black, and you've got a nice inlaid checkering on that. It's quite a vertical grip profile, but it's got good reach to the trigger blade, and that is a very, very comfortable rifle to shoot, either from prone, sitting, standing, or even improvised, you know, setups. I actually thought it was really nice, so quite happy with that. Let's just talk quickly about the butt pad. Butt pad is a solid butt pad. It's quite sort of medium soft consistency, but there's no soft soggy spots in it, and it's got a nice textured finish on the outside, so it kind of grips into your clothing, into your shoulder by the mechanics of it, rather than being a sort of silly, horrible, sticky compound that picks up all the dust and dirt. Last but not least, let's talk about this cheek piece here. These are available in different sizes. The medium one is the one that's fitted, and it's got a lovely, tall, slender profile. That gives you superb alignment with the optic, and it's also, because the rifle is scaled in size perfectly for the cartridge and the cheek piece is made for this rifle as well, you've got that cheek piece coming quite a long way forward as well, because it's all perfect in operation and there are no hiccups and problems with it. It hasn't been made from kind of bits that have been, how shall I put this, modified to work with smaller cartridges. So I do kind of like that. The rifle comes with a certificate here, 7-year warranty on all the mechanics, and you also get an MOA proof with it, which is, you know, 3 shots, sub MOA, 100 yards with premium ammo. There's no point me talking about it. I've done this on paper. You can see it's quite happily proved that even with the weaker of the 3 ammunition types, it still beat the MOA, because I was shooting at 100 meters, not 100 yards. With the 55 grain Hornady VMAX, it was sub half MOA for 3-shot group, which is what it's tested with. But the rifle did handle bigger groups and shooting more at longer distances when I used a lot more of my ammo, and there's no problem with any thermal drift, so the annealing is very good. I've run a bore scope through the barrel. All the rifling looks clean and very nicely made, so I'm more than happy with that. I think this rifle from Frankie really does reflect slightly that it's got a bit of an American design influence to it. But you know what? I think they've really got the best bits of American rifle design with some of the best bits of European ergonomics as well. So the rifle handles and feels great, but you've got the barreled action of a really good American sort of system, which works exceptionally well. It really was a pleasure to shoot this gun. I got it out to sort of 300 meters shooting 55 grain VMAX, which was the best performer through it, and it shot superbly well. I had a really fun day, because to be quite honest, the first day I took it out, I forgot the paper targets, so I just went and shot some steel. I shot the paper targets on the second day, after which time I'd had about 40 rounds to it. It had really smoothed up, slicked in, and it was a joy to operate. Now, some of the tiny little details about this, which I just make me smile because I think they're so subtle, but they really kind of indicate the pleasure of the designing a rifle and putting some really cool features into it. Now, as well as these anchor points here for QD slugs, you've also got a very slight bag rider there, which will pop into your bag really well. But if you look here, can you see the profile on this where my thumb's ring now? There's a little bit of checkering on the sides as well, and that is designed so that when you've got your hand like that, you know, locked into your shoulder, it just gives you that little bit of mechanical purchase and comfort to keep an even more stable position. And that, to me, is a non-advertised feature, but it really does show the art of a gun maker, and I think that's superb, because frankly, once you've paid for all the tooling to injection mould a stock like this, adding a feature like that costs nothing on top if you do it from the start, of course. And I just think it shows a futuristic design. You know, the manufacturers want to get it right first time. They don't want to be doing firmware updates and modifications and new stock here, new stock there. This one has just hit the ground running, and I just think it's a cracking gun to shoot. I hope to test some of these Frankies in the larger cartridges and chamberings because, of course, this is a 223. There's very little recoil at all. The larger cartridges and chamberings on the sort of slightly lighter, more sporting rifles like the Creedmoors and the 308s will show up a little bit more of the handling dynamic of the stock, but from what I've seen, the core geometry of the stock, which is crucial to the way a gun handles recoil, has been kept fairly consistent. And you can see on this gun, again, it's a 223, there's so little recoil, it's got a sound moderator on as well, but you can spot your bullets in flight, it's just a pleasure to shoot, and of course when you're actually moving into position, your head is straight behind the gun into the stock, and of course you can manipulate that bolt quickly without it jamming or lurching or, you know, binding in the action, and you've got the minimum amount of actual personal movement to do that. So you can fire it, open, close, fire it, open, close, and it's really quick to use. Now in the case of this 223, that's partly because the action is short, it's 90mm throw length, which is, you know, really nice compared to the fact that some manufacturers use the same action geometry throughout their range, and you end up with over 100mm of bolt travel for a small cartridge. That doesn't sound like any great problem, and in fairness, it doesn't make the gun any harder to use, but when it is the shorter, slightly slicker action like this, you do appreciate it, and especially for me, it just puts a little smile on my face because I think there's a manufacturer and a designer who are really concentrating on the rifle they're wanting to market, the rifle they're wanting to make. Now this one with this barrel is 1125mm long, which is 44.3 inches. The overall weight is 4,150 grams, which is just over 9 pounds. So it's not the lightest of rifles, but then again in a Varmint or, you know, maybe sort of slightly impromptu target rifle, certainly in the 223 with a faster twist or the Valkyrie, I think the Valkyrie has a 7-inch twist. That's going to make a really nice rifle to take to the range. And of course the heavy barrel with the fluting is going to give you those slightly longer shot strings without heat becoming a problem. But as I said, the barrel seems to be well made and it's not giving me any thermal movement when I've shot the longer groups even through this. Last but not least, the length of pull. Length of pull trigger to the recoil pad is 355mm, which is 14 inches. I consider that, from a man of 5'11" tall and European sort of shooting outset, that to me is the absolute baseline of which recoil pads should sit. It is the fundamental baseline dimension. So anything's either shorter than 14 inches or longer than 14 inches in terms of how I view a rifle. And to be honest, 14 to 14¼ inches is perfect for me. And in a 223, I've no issue with that at all. Of course, having that long Picatinny rail on it means you can move the scope. You know, you've got a lot of versatility as to where you move that scope. And this one's an Element Helix I've got on here. It's a 6-24. So this has got 100mm of eye relief. Yeah, I never felt cramped. I never felt I had to crane my neck back. I could adopt my normal ergonomic shooting position and the scope was happy to sit where it sits. Because if you see it here, the saddle's there, the rings are here. It doesn't look, you know, overly pushed one way or the other because that long Picatinny rail gives you that versatility. Right, well I hope you've enjoyed watching that review. I'm going to sum up by saying Frankie is a manufacturer I've seen nothing from before. I have been chasing one of these for 2 or 3 years, but the distribution's now been taken on by Sportsman Gun Centre, so of course they were keen to send me one out straight away because they knew how much I wanted to see one. And I think this gun has just popped up from the shadows and is really, really impressive straight off the bat. You'll have to check your local dealer for retail price, but this is actually short of £1,000, and I think it's a cracking gun for the money. And it's one of those guns that, strangely enough, I enjoyed shooting and I kind of don't really want to send back, but you know, next week there'll be another gun. It might not be as nice a gun as this, but this is the kind of gun I would love for the winter. Put the thermal, put the night vision on it, take it out, get some really good varminting done on the rabbits, and get out for the foxes as well too with it, because of course with the sound moderator on, it's very modest to shoot, it's extremely well balanced, and of course 4+1 in the magazine is enough for me, but if you want 8 on the range plus one more, well, that's a great rifle. So there we go. Well, I hope you've enjoyed that review. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and click the notification bell and keep track of my regular uploads. But for now, thank you for watching, and thank you to Sportsman Gun Centre and for this Frankie rifle, because it has just reinvigorated me for the next few weeks.